Hello, gorgeous souls. I hope you're having a great afternoon and jumping in with today's live video around exhaustion and tiredness. You could actually be burnt out if you are experiencing continual feelings of fatigue where just a good night's sleep is not cutting it, meaning you have 8 hours and you're waking up and you're still feeling absolutely exhausted. Perhaps you're experiencing brain fog, perhaps you're feeling like lethargy or soreness, pain, inflammation within the body. You might be experiencing some digestive issues, but overall just feeling a sense of overwhelm, feeling dread about the day, feeling that you're less positive perhaps than you used to be, and just a feeling that you need to be motivating yourself or pushing yourself to get things done. All of these things are absolutely signs and symptoms of burnout, and it does get progressively worse if we do not take notice of this. Hey Amanda, great to have you on, honey. If we're not taking notice of this, of the signs and the symptoms that we're actually experiencing, and we keep pushing or we keep trying to motivate ourselves further, you will end up in absolute adrenal exhaustion, and it is not fun. I've absolutely been there to the point where, it's really hard to even just get out of bed and even, functioning, doing work, or even cooking ourselves a meal, taking care of ourselves. All of those things can end up feeling very, very overwhelming in stage 3 adrenal exhaustion. So we absolutely want to make sure you do not get to that point. If you are at that point, I absolutely recommend reaching out, please, as soon as possible, because getting the right type of support to guide you through that is absolutely critical. However, if you are just finding you're exhausted, you're tired, you're like, I just don't feel like myself, you've lost that spark and joy, one thing that can keep us perpetuating burnout is coping mechanisms. Often burnout occurs because of perhaps trauma situations, or where we've felt that we've needed to be either high achievers or high functioning in crisis modes, meaning you're the one that steps in, you're the one that people come to whenever there's a crisis, you're the one that takes responsibility, you're the one that always steps up, you tend to be the leader. Often these people can be fixer rescuers and be stepping in constantly to really help others, and it is because you have a big heart, because you care deeply, perhaps you're quite empathic like I am, very sensitive to the needs of others. But what actually happens is that we often attach our sense of self-worth and sense of value to helping others, and what it does is it keeps us in that cycle of burnout, and it doesn't actually allow us to ever be in our natural feminine state, which is actually receiving, allowing ourselves to receive, allowing ourselves to be nurtured and taken care of, and that can really throw us out of whack. And if you're stiff or tight through the shoulders, if you're experiencing neck pain, perhaps back pain, a lot of that goes back into feeling that we're not supported, feeling that we've got the weight of the world on our shoulders, and that really, like I mentioned, can absolutely perpetuate burnout. Often these types of tendencies or coping mechanisms have often been there since childhood, meaning they were established as a pro-survival mechanism in childhood, and so it can feel very, very difficult to ask for help, or to ask, communicate that we actually need help, especially when you're seen as the one that's always got it together. Perhaps you're the super mum, or the super person that other people look up to. It can be so heartbreaking to have the happy, smiley, shiny face on. Yep, I'm good. I've got it all together. I'm fine on the outside, but actually feel absolutely like you are, really terrified inside, and you know that you're just becoming more and more of a shell of yourself. We can actually end up feeling like we're absolutely losing ourselves, and that is not a comfortable feeling at all. And so the biggest factors with this is taking over responsibility for others. We actually end up enabling disempowerment within others, and I know that's absolutely not the intention, but unless we're actually really taking stock of could this person actually really have they got the capacity or the capability, or how can I empower this person to take full responsibility for themselves, to resolve this for themselves, to fix this for themselves. And again, obviously younger children, we can't always be doing that, we can be encouraging that, but definitely they need our support and guidance and help and everything else as well. But I really have a look in your life in terms of who and how many people that you're actually supporting, or perhaps stepping in and feeling like you're the one that's got to be the rescuer or the fixer all the time. And you'll know that you're feeling obligation, or that it is actually a coping mechanism driving this if you are feeling anger and resentment. There are two biggest signs that we are feeling very, very stretched. It's a protection mechanism by the body to let us know that we're violating our own boundaries by not listening to our body. So that is a really, really important factor. Like I mentioned before, the thing that really gets in the way of actually releasing these coping mechanisms and healing these ways of being, where it's like we can feel calm, we can know that others are going to be okay no matter what, is particularly if we're attached. And this can be very true for a lot of mums. Certainly it was my story as well at one point, that my happiness, I can't be happy unless everybody else is happy, right? And that is a recipe for disaster, because if you've got 4 or 5 people in your household, or you've got maybe 10 people in your sphere of loved ones, what are the chances that they're all going to be happy at the one time, right? So all of that really can be a massive, massive drain on the adrenals and on our endocrine system. It disrupts our hormones, and like I mentioned, creates a lot of those symptoms of burnout, of just feeling continually exhausted, continually fatigued. So making sure that you know that you are absolutely worthy and deserving of receiving, and receiving in any capacity, right? Really allowing yourself to nurture yourself, to rest when you need to. But the biggest thing actually is allowing yourself to receive help, which can be difficult when we've always been perceived as the one that people go to get support, to get help. So knowing this and really understanding this, often there are deep hidden beliefs, like I mentioned before, as well as trauma. And I really redefine trauma as any time that we feel that we weren't loved, valued, or accepted for who we were, or who we are within our birth family. And so we create all of these mechanisms, these coping mechanisms, ways of being. We twist ourselves, we contort ourselves, we try and be the pleaser, the good girl, the one that never rocks the boat, never speaks up. All of those things can be so challenging. Hey Beryl, great to have you on. All of these mechanisms really can stop us from actually seeking the help and actually really starting to speak up for ourselves and start to shift and change these dynamics. And I can promise, if you are living with anger and resentment, then there is some deep healing work to be done. I was literally living in anger a lot of the time, like years and years and years ago, before I really started on my journey. And it was because I was constantly allowing my boundaries to be violated. I didn't even know what my boundaries were. I had no clue how to communicate those effectively, to create greater connections and greater relationships, and it was just so challenging because I didn't know what my boundaries were, and therefore couldn't stand up for myself in those times. And often the feeling of powerlessness, that we can't change our situation, or it just is what it is, or everybody's going to be upset with me, will lose love, approval, or validation if I don't continue doing these things for people, or feeling excessive guilt can also be a massive, massive drain on the adrenal system. So guilt when we rest, guilt when we say no, all of those things. So if that is you, if that's really speaking to the heart of you, or if you really resonate with that, I absolutely encourage you, invite you to reach out and receive some help around this, right? To be able to allow yourself to receive, to allow yourself to be supported within this. And let's have a conversation, see if and how I may be able to help you, and to understand really what's the root cause of what's going on for you. What are the beliefs that are keeping you stuck in this exhaustion and fatigue cycle? Because honestly, until these things are really dealt with, and that trauma is healed, we've overcome the coping mechanism, and really understand what's actually driving it and how to move beyond that, it will continue to exhaust your adrenals, drain your energy, and it is absolutely like the worst thing in the world to get to that level 3 adrenal exhaustion, as I spoke about right at the start. So if that is you, please reach out, send me a PM. We can book in a 45-minute, an hour conversation to really have a chat, dive deep, really understand understand where you're actually currently at and see if and how I might be able to help you move forward from that. So sending you lots of love, and know that you are absolutely worthy and deserving. There is nothing you need to do to prove your worthiness, to prove your enoughness. You already are that. And the more that we can heal this within you and support you to really find that sense of self-love, self-value, and draw that line in the sand, then that often makes such a huge difference moving forward as well. So lots of love. Have an amazing afternoon, and look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye.